Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the webinar for your Spot Bid Fair questions and answers on this Tuesday, July 28th, 2020. Before we get started, let's do a quick sound check. And if you would, over in your right-hand panel, you will see a hand as an option. If you can hear us clearly, would you please raise your hand just so we can do a sound check?
You may proceed, Tom.
Okay, thank you, Tracy. Also in your control panel, you will notice in the option that there are 4 handouts attached. Those are all applicable to the Spot Bid Fair, and we invite you to open those, download those, print those out, or save them as you wish. We will also, during this webinar, allow you to insert your questions into the question box that you will also see on your panel. And as we go through our broadcast today, we will answer your questions as they come up. So let's go ahead and get started, and I will turn it over to Lynn Hottie with DIR.
Thanks, Tom. Good morning, everybody. We just wanted to hold a session today for you. I know I've received a lot of questions. I know Maya's office has also received a lot of questions about bids, about due dates and times, registration, the vendor one-on-one meetings or table meetings that we're supposed to have. So we just thought it would be a good idea today to just open this up and give you an open platform to ask any questions that you may have, point out any needs that you may have. So what we're going to do today, it's just myself and Maya on here. Most of y'all are pretty familiar with us, so we'll go to the next slide. And if you'll just submit your questions, we're gonna just go along through this and address any questions you may have to help you with this process. So I know it looks like we may have a few already, Tom, maybe. So keep in mind when you're posting your bid opportunities through the portal, once you hit submit, we can't go back and edit those. We can't go back and add any attachments in or make any changes to any titles. So once you submit your bids, if you need those, if there's an error of any kind and you need those to be removed, email our office and email dir.hub@dir.texas.gov, or email myself, email Teresa Williamson. We can go in and get those bids removed for you, and you can go in and repost those. Wait till we tell you that those have been removed. That way you're not duplicating or redoing your work 2 or 3 times. We're just going to go in there and find the chunk that you've identified for us to delete, and we'll go in and delete those. And most of the time it's pretty clear because some of the line items may be missing or there aren't any attachments. And I know this is different from past years. In past years, you didn't have to necessarily attach anything because we were going to have a live event, so you could bring your final details or your additional information to the event and hand it out to the vendors. We don't have that opportunity this year. So if you will keep that in mind. If you need to make any edits, you can. If you have not posted your bid opportunities to the website, you still have time. We have not posted ours, so you still have time. I know they wanted them up there by Monday so that vendors could start looking at those. We do have several bid opportunities that are already up and posted. So there are items for vendors to start working on. So if you still have last minute bids, please feel free to upload those. I've had a conversation with some agencies about the fact that they're going to use FY21 money. And there's a sweet spot or when you can start issuing those POs or requisitioning that and holding on to those funds. So you won't want to necessarily have your bids close on August 5th or August 7th. And that's the flexibility of this year's event. They don't have to necessarily be due on the August 5th, which is the last day of the event. you can extend those due dates out by a week if you need to. And remember, you have to evaluate those, you have to do your vendor checks for those, and then actually decide who you're going to award the bid to, and then you can issue a requisition and PO for that. So you have some flexibility with your time if you need to use FY21 funds and not use FY20 funds. So keep that in mind. There may be some opportunities you can post in regards to that. So we can start answering some questions, Tom, if there are any out there.
Yes. You know, there was the first question about I kept getting an error message when attempting to submit yesterday. They had tried 4 times and wondered if anybody else had issues.
Okay, so you shouldn't receive an error message when you're submitting if you're in that portal. On the next slide, so if you open up the presentation that we have in the attachments, I have a link to the submittal page where you go in and submit your details and attach your attachments and can submit your bid opportunities out to the portal. I've also had agencies tell me, well, I've signed up and registered. You should not have to sign up and register or log in to do any of this through the portal. The page should populate and you should be able to submit your bids. So check the link in the attached presentation and make sure that that's working for you. If it's not for some reason, make sure you're using Google Chrome as your search engine. Sometimes it doesn't like Internet Explorer or Microsoft Edge. So we suggest you use Google Chrome for this portal and when looking at uploading your bid opportunities to that page.
Okay, next question. Purchasers are unclear on limit for spot bids.
Okay. Purchasers are unclear on
limit for spot bids.
Okay, so we've also attached the exemption letter from the comptroller's office, as well as the exemption process letter from DIR. DIR isn't giving any blanket exemptions for state agencies. We're not saying, okay, you don't have to use DIR, go forward and buy whatever you want to. You still have to submit, I mean, we still have to follow procurement law. We don't have any way around that. So if you're considering a purchase that, let's say, is $25,000 or $30,000 for some IT equipment or software, you still have to submit an exemption request for that through DIR, and we have to approve that for you to be able to buy it through this. We're considering exemptions up to $50,000. So again, download the letter that's in the attachment in the handouts and follow those instructions. And that's only for state agencies. Universities, as much as I hate to say this, y'all do not have to request exemptions. Y'all do not have to use DIR. You have more flexibility to buy those IT items. So keep that in mind when you're considering what items to post for bid opportunities.
Okay, next question. Are we going to get an invitation for the breakout sessions we have signed up for?
If you're talking about the classes that are going to happen on day 1, Maya, do you know if they're receiving any communication for those?
Yeah, that's one of the things I have on my question for Andrew today. The trainings are going to, if you're registered, they're going to be open for anybody to come in and out. Everyone who comes in and out will be on a mute. Only the speakers will have a different link. So to communicate, you'd have to do like you're doing here and submit a question through the chat. For Tuesday, yes, the agencies are going to get a link. You should be getting it with registration, but I'm getting the same question. So that's something that I have to get an answer for when I talk to Andrew after this.
Right. So, and I know we talked about in one of our previous webinars, the fact that they are going to have vendor meetings, kind of roundtable type sessions throughout the day on August 4th for the event, which is day 2 of the event, Tuesday. We have not received any communication from Andrew, as I know he mentioned that we were going to have a time to practice. We have not gotten any additional information on that. We do have a meeting set up with him to hopefully get some additional information so we can share with you when that might be. He thought he might have an opportunity today to have his vendor come on and kind of demo that environment for us. But that I think they're still working out some of the background details. So as soon as we get that, you will receive communication either from Maya and her group, or you will receive communication directly from Andrew Nash and the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council. Somebody will be communicating with us how this is going to work, when it's going to happen, if there's a practice session, and I believe at the very latest, and they may be shooting for Friday to use that as a practice day for the event on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we still have some time, but you haven't missed anything. You haven't missed any communication from anybody as far as that goes in regards to those practice sessions.
Lynn, I will make sure that I get some kind of an email out to all of the hub coordinators this afternoon. Please, please, please make sure that you are listed on the Gov delivery. I get so many emails that are bounced back. We cannot add you to the list. You need to go to your agency super user to get yourself added to that communication list. So I get people saying, put me on your list. I try to remember, but when we send out informations, I pull from the hub coordinator list, and that pulls from the Gov delivery. So please, please, please check and make sure you're listed there.
Perfect.
Okay, next question. Will we get a list of scheduled vendors to our 20-minute virtual booth on each vendor who attends each session?
So yes, yes. Sorry, Lynn, go ahead.
I was gonna say, those are additional details that we're gonna get from Andrew and his group, but yes, we anticipate you getting those lists. When that'll be and how it'll be delivered, I'm not sure, but Maya may have additional details on that.
I know everyone's supposed to get, all of the agencies and universities are supposed to get a list of their 9 sessions with the vendors that are supposed to attend. But that is something that we have to find out how that's going. It's supposed to be happening with the registration, but I will get with Andrew and put it in the email information this afternoon.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, next question, kind of as in relation to that, has there been a lot of interest from vendors for the virtual one-on-one rooms?
I'm unsure. I have actually had vendors email me asking me when they were going to receive their information, similar to what we're looking for as an agency. They're looking for information on who they're going to get to meet with or how they're going to get to sign up for that. So we did hold a vendor webinar for the Spot Bid Fair and Hub Expo. So vendors are out there looking for that information as well. So hopefully we can get that answered. I know there are several vendors that I've spoken with that are looking for that information. So I think there is interest. How many and how much, I'm not 100% sure. But hopefully we can get those details and share those with the group as well. Maybe Andrew will have some additional information for us about number of individuals that have registered for the Hub Expo, maybe number of individuals that have registered for the one-on-ones. If he can just kind of give us an overview or total of those, we can share that with you as well.
So I know that the total registration is yesterday was 572. I believe that was a combination of agencies as well as vendors.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, next question. Can they put requisitions on PPE equipment? If so, do we know after award how quickly we will be able to get supplies from vendors?
Yes, you can, as long as your agency is buying those and you're not instructed to go through another process. Now, how quickly can you get that equipment? I won't know, and you probably need to include information in your bids for them, request, how long, what are your lead times? How long will it take for you to deliver this once we issue you a PO? You'll want to hopefully get that information ahead of time in their responses. So make sure you request and ask for those details when you're posting your bid opportunities.
Okay, next question. If I have only one procurement that I am seeking bids on, what role will I play online August 4th and 5th?
Okay, so August 4th is mainly the Hub Expo. There are going to be, from what I understand, 2 tracks with classes throughout the day. Now they are going to have a virtual kickoff for the spot bid fair. So you'll probably want to tune in, participate. At that time, I think Senator West is going to be kicking off the event. And then we'll go back to the classes, I believe. And then on day 2, we're actually going to have the vendor meetings, the roundtables. So we should all be receiving schedules for those, so we know when we have appointments, when we don't. And then August 5th is the last day of the event, which is Wednesday. And if your agency is able to make awards and you've decided or have identified vendors you're probably going to go with or award those bids to, you can submit that information. And I believe they're going to have a way to make those announcements. So like if DIR was going to award, if I had maybe some copy paper that I had a bid out for, and we had to decide and determine who we were going to use, we'd give that award amount, the detail, how much is going to be awarded and to what vendor. And they can post that information and advertise that on August 5th.
Okay, next question. I understand this year is totally virtual and it's a new experience for everybody, but as a new hub coordinator, what will my interaction be during the actual event? I really don't understand what it is I'm supposed to be doing throughout the event.
Okay, so like we said, first of all, if you're a new hub coordinator and you're new to this environment, I would suggest you look at the agenda for the Hub Expo and maybe listen in on some of the classes the first day. You are going to be, if you've never worked in this environment before and you've never filled this type of a role before, tune into some of those classes because you're going to be interacting with vendors that are going to have questions. And in participating in some of these online trainings, you're going to get tools for your toolbox to pass on to those hub vendors. So tune into those trainings if you have an opportunity to. And then again on Tuesday, if you have a booth and have registered for that, you can, what those vendors are going to want to do on that day too is tell you what they can sell you. And you're going to need to be able to communicate what your agency buys, how you buy. Are there any cooperative programs y'all use? So do y'all use a lot of text, if you're a state agency, do you use a lot of text mass contracts and smart buy and competitively bid out everything else? Do you use DIR contracts? You may have IT vendors that will want to meet with you to sell you on the latest and greatest software program they have. If you're a state agency and it's under $5 million, you can't necessarily buy that from them directly. So you'll want to say, inform them about DIR and our contracting process and what we do, and you'll want to be able to direct them back to DIR for additional information. So day 1 is the day for you to participate and listen and to find out some additional information, maybe get some tips on helping vendors know how to market to agencies and universities, get tips on how to respond to bids, get tips on how to mine for data so that they know who they need to market to. So it's really a learning day for vendors and agencies. So you can participate that way, and then on day 2, meet with those vendors in that roundtable session.
And to add to that, I am always available to talk and just go over kind of the generals and get you in the right direction to make sure you review some things before you really get going. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me.
Okay, next question. Is it too late to sign up as an agency for the virtual one-on-one rooms?
I don't think it is. I think you can still register for the event. Again, there's a link in this presentation to the registration information. So if you download that presentation, you'll have a hot link in there that will take you directly to that, so you can get to the registration information for your agency in the event.
That's correct, Lynn. It's not too late to register for any part of it.
Okay, next question. How will bids be received from vendor? Previously, the bids were delivered on site.
Okay, so that was something we addressed in that earlier webinar when we had the webinar specifically for hub coordinators. You're going to have to decide when, where, and how those bids are received. So you're going to have to decide what date you're going to receive bids through and what time, and you're going to have to determine the delivery method on how they need to submit those to you. We are living in a virtual world. So some agencies are receiving quotes because they're for lower dollar amounts, but they're receiving those through a specific email address. Or some agencies or universities are directing those bids be mailed directly to their office. So they're received and time-stamped upon that, when those come in. So it is up to each agency and university to identify when and how you will receive your bids. And if that wasn't identified in your solicitation or your bid items on the bid portal, you'll want to consider maybe pulling those down and uploading those again with that information.
So Lynn, that just reminded me of one thing. Please make sure that your bids are not due before Tuesday on the 4th, not before the 4th.
Right, exactly. I know, again, it's not a typical year and we're not in a typical environment, but the spot bid fair usually kicks off on a Monday, and the intent was for those vendors who hadn't had an opportunity to look at the information online, for them to actually come in and pick up bid opportunities, take those, and then have them be due on Tuesday in person. And typically agencies would start making theirs due anywhere from like 2 to 4, 2 to maybe even 5. Again, this is a virtual event, so we're not seeing any vendors in person. They're not able to pick those up in person. So we're trying to give them as much time to respond to those as possible, given that they're going to be in classes most of the day Monday. And then hopefully in vendor meetings on Tuesday. So again, if you majors do earlier than that time frame and you want to adjust that and pull those down and repost those, contact our office. We'll help you do that.
Okay, next question. What about non-IT items limit on purchase?
Okay, so you have the CPA exemption letter that is in the handouts that you can use as a guide for that. Remember, you still have to follow procurement law. So I'm pretty sure you're not going to post a construction project that's a $10 million project today and award that on Wednesday. So you need to balance the exemptions you've been given from CPA with what your basic requirements are for purchases, and keep that in mind as far as dollar thresholds are concerned.
Okay, this is just an FYI. Somebody had stated my email with login information went to my junk folder upon completion of my registration. So yes, it is a good idea to check your inbox and your junk mail just to be sure that you've received the information.
Yep. And when you say registration information, just can you pop back on there and clarify, was that for registration of the event? Or did you sign up for the portal? Because y'all shouldn't have to sign up or sign into the portal to submit your bids. It should take you to that submittal page. I know there's a sign-in button at the top, but you don't have to do that. Click in that link and then start entering into your information into the form, and you should be able to submit it that way.
Okay, next question we need some further clarification on. It just says I asked Andrew on this and he is saying Wednesday. Not sure what that's in reference to, so if you can just further clarify and share that with the group, we can certainly get it, get that answered. Next question, how does my state agency register more than one representative to participate? Does each representative register separately?
So I believe there was an option for you to register. I think with your basic registration, it covered 2 individuals. And then if you wanted to register additional individuals, you could when you're registering for the event for the booth type atmosphere. If you've already submitted your registration, but you have additional individuals who want to participate, I'm going to suggest that you contact the Dallas-Fort Worth Minority Supplier Development Council and contact an individual there, and they probably can get those additional people added to your registration.
Okay, next question. I'm a new hub coordinator. How can I ensure I'm on all hub-related communications for my university?
Okay, like Maya was saying earlier, there's a hub coordinator contact list, and that is housed through the Smart Buy system portal with the comptroller's office. So your university has a super user. In your procurement area, y'all should have a super user. What you'll want to do is find out who that is and make sure that they have updated your information in the hub coordinator contact list portal so that you can be included in the list when Maya sends out any information. When she sends out additional information to hub coordinators, she has to use that hub coordinator contact list. So if your agency hasn't maintained that information, you are missing opportunities.
Okay, next question. Are we going to have, I think it's have, are we going to have an itinerary hour per hour of events along with the one-on-ones with the vendors?
I'm not 100% sure, and that's a question we can ask Andrew today as well, unless Maya has any additional information on that.
Sorry, I was trying to answer, but I didn't unmute fast enough. Yes, there will be itineraries. Part of that is what Andrew is supposed to be sending when all the vendors come in. We will have an itinerary for the morning and a basic 1 to 1:30 is the kickoff of the spot bid fair, and then 1:30 to 4:30 are the agency doing their announcements. They didn't get it in the bid book, or if they want to make those announcements, that can happen during that time. Tuesday morning will be the vendor meetings. We will get exact directions for that as soon as we can, and I should be able to put that in the email this afternoon.
Okay, next question. Do we need to have a webcam or will audio work just fine when talking to the vendors?
I believe audio will work just fine. Maya, do you have any additional details on that?
I was going to say the same thing. It really just depends on you. Some vendors will have audio and video, and as for me, if it's something like that, I usually tend to turn my camera off because my broadband works better when I have my camera off. And I normally just tell the vendors I apologize, but my broadband works better when I don't have a camera on. So audio should be just fine.
Right, and that's what we advise our agencies and customers when we're having like a webinar, when we're having even a Teams meeting on those platforms. When you add in the camera aspect of that, the visual, it tends to eat up your broadband and you don't have as clear communication. So, you know, if you want to and you want to show them your face, you can come on and turn your camera on and introduce yourself and then close that out so you make sure you don't lose connection. But I usually don't turn my camera on.
Okay, and that also, I think, answered the next question of do we need to activate our camera for the meetings? I think we just covered all of that in your answers.
Yeah.
Next question, will the hub coordinators be able to participate in the classes or will it conflict with vendor and agency collaboration?
I think Lynn said that earlier. She was suggesting that any new hub coordinators get on. It is open and there will be plenty of room for anyone to just hop into the trainings. There will be 2 tracks of trainings. So there's 2 rooms that will allow people to go in and out of the different trainings. And we'll have that agenda posted and we'll also send it out to everybody.
Okay, next question. So we don't necessarily have to announce the award on August 5th. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is correct.
Okay. Next question. We are not a state agency. Can you provide the link to ensure we are listed on GovDelivery to get the links for the Hub Expo?
I can include those in the email this afternoon. And they're, I believe they're also on the, actually, I know they are on the hub, on the statewide hub page as well.
Yeah, so if you'll go out to the comptroller's website, you can search for that and it should take you to the page where that information is located as well.
It will be under the hub events page.
Okay, next question. Can I post our online bidding link to direct vendors to our online portal? If so, should we post the link in the comment section or description area bid book?
Yes, you can include your link. I would include that in your bid response instructions. So if you're attaching a document, I would include it in that information. If you are providing a description of the item and want to include it in there as well, I believe you can. You just risk, if they don't expand that field or they don't export that information and totally look at all of that, they may miss it in that description field. So make sure you include that in your bid response instructions, probably as an attachment.
Okay, next question is kind of a follow-up to a previously asked question, and the statement is, yes, registration of the event. I got 2 separate emails with links for practice and 1 email with links for getting into the event.
Oh, perfect. So we probably all need to go and look at our junk email to see. So if you've registered, or like at our agency, I had somebody else do the registration for us. They may have received that information and didn't know what it was or didn't know to forward that. So I'm going to have to go back. I know we've registered someone to go back to the individual who did that for us to make sure that they have the links, they've seen them, and we'll share them with the individuals that are attending that event.
Okay, clarification here. Andrew emailed me when asking about practice sessions was going to be on Wednesday. I forwarded his response to Lynn and Maya.
Perfect, thank you. And we'll grab that and we'll add that to the communication that Maya sends out as well.
Okay, next question. For the DIR exception for procurements, is that only available for DIR contracted suppliers? What if we have a hub supplier quote for IR services but are not DIR contracted?
It's all there are some magical equations that go into figuring that out. If you want to procure, I know we've given some exemptions for commodities under $50,000, I don't know historically that we've done any for services or that there have been any services under $50,000. So if you want to request an exemption specifically for that, regardless of who you think you want to go with, because you still have to competitively bid this out. If you feel like you want to get an exemption for certain services, you still have to go through the exemption process. And you're still going to have to get, if you're a state agency, and you're still going to have to get an exemption from DIR to procure that. And let me follow this up with, I'm going to have to go through the bid opportunities that are posted. And if you haven't requested, if you're a state agency and you have not requested an exemption request for maybe some of the items that you have posted, you're going to get an email from us that's just a reminder with the exemption process email. And there's nothing I can do to you. I'm not going to scold you. I'm not going to get you in trouble. I'm not going to report you to anybody. But should you have an audit, there will be an audit finding for that. So make sure you're still following your proper procurement processes.
Okay, next question. What format software will we be using? WebEx, Zoom, etc.?
So this is a vendor that they contracted with. It'll be similar to what we're used to in the WebEx and the GoToMeetings and all this, but it will be a little bit different in that it'll be their specific program. So that's a question we can ask as to what kind of, what we're going to need to download in order to participate.
Okay, next question. Will we receive CPU credits for this event?
There have none been approved that I know of.
Yeah.
Next question. Are we going to have a room via WebEx, Zoom, where multiple vendors will be dropping in at will, or will all vendor collaboration be scheduled one-on-one meetings?
I know they're starting with scheduling those. Now, whether or not there's going to be a flyby or a drive-by for last-minute meetings, I'm not sure, because it all depends on how they're linking everybody and how they get in, how they're going to get into a room with, let's say, TxDOT or UT Austin or DIR. They're going to have a time and a link specific for those. So I don't know how quote unquote drive-bys are going to be handled.
Agreed. We'll get the answer.
Okay, that addresses all of the questions in the question box, but if anybody has anything else to ask, please feel free to enter your question and we will get it answered for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have any additional questions, feel free to post those. If you don't ask now, but want to ask later, you absolutely can. We're still available. You can still contact myself. You can still contact Maya. We're here to assist you however we can. So don't just stop trying. Reach out to us. Email is always best. If we need to have a phone call, we can set up. We typically set up Teams meetings, and so we'll put it on your calendar and we'll go out there and have a conversation. Simply because we're all working remotely. I see that there's still some confusion regarding the DIR exemption. So again, I'm just gonna redirect y'all back to the handouts that are attached. You have included in those handouts the CPA exemption letter. You have the DIR exemption process letter. So there's no blanket exemption outside of the blanket exemptions that already exist in the normal day-to-day operations as far as IT exemptions are concerned. You also have a copy of this handout, which includes helpful links. And then we also included a copy of Senator West's letter in case you hadn't received it or needed it for your file. A copy has been included in the handouts for you as well. So for those of you that have additional questions regarding the DIR exemption process and what needs to be done, I suggest you send me an email and give me a good time for us to chat, and I'll set up a Teams meeting and I'll follow up with you so we can clarify that for you so you can get your bids posted.
Okay, and that kind of follows up with an additional question. If we are required to get a DIR exemption, do we just extend the vendor's bid response deadline to allow the 15 days for processing?
Yes, would have to extend that.
Okay, and then where will these answers be posted?
So we're going to send you everybody that attended. Once we conclude with this, we did make a recording of the webinar. So we're going to email that and the questions and answers back out to you. So you have that as a resource and you can share that with your agency, university, staff members if you need to. You can use it as a resource and refer back to that. So we will be emailing you all of that information.
I will send out my cell phone so that during this event, I can get texts in case someone's having problems, then I know that we have to reach out. We'll figure out a process for that. So I'll put that in the email as well.
There you go. We'll have a helpline in case any of you need any additional help. If you have additional questions and want to post those, please feel free. I'm going to ask that we go to the next slide just to show you the links that we did include.
So as we're waiting for that, if everybody can remember, this is new for all of us. So we're in the same boat you are. There is no question that is silly or dumb or shouldn't be asked. Please go ahead and ask. I'm going to give out everybody my cell number. So if you have any problems or any questions, you can just text me and I'll figure out how to help you.
Right. And again, we've included in the helpful links. So if you need to submit your bids, there's a link. When you open that link, you shouldn't have to register or sign in. What you'll do is just input the details into the fields and hit submit, and that'll be your bid information. We've also included the link for you to view bid opportunities. So again, if you want to see what's been posted out there, see what information you've shared to make sure it's been published, which it automatically is published, it's real-time data, you can go out there and view that as well. And then the agency registration link for the event is the third link that has been included at the bottom of that page. So if you still need to register, you can. The information is there. And you can go out and submit that at any time, I would think up through Friday. So have we received any other questions, Tom?
No.
Okay. So we'll, again, we will post this information, or we will email this information to you. So the recording, the questions and the answers, you should have all of the handouts, but we'll send those as well. And just to make sure you have a copy of those for your records. Again, if you have any DIR exemption request questions, please direct those to me so that we can get those answered for you. If you want to go to the next slide, you will see our contact information for Maya Ingram and myself. Again, use email. It's faster, quicker these days than calling, because that is my office phone number and I am not currently at my office and will probably not be for several more months. So if you want an immediate response, email me. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. We'll set up whatever kind of assistance you need. If we need to have a phone call, if we need to have a meeting, whatever we need to do, we will help you. So our contact information is listed there. And I see do we have one more
Yes,
question?
will this recording be available for reference?
Yes, so absolutely. We're going to email this back out to all of the attendees. So you all receive this information so you can use it as a reference. And again, if you have questions and you're just really unsure, reach out to myself, reach out to Maya. We're happy to assist you guys. We're here as a resource for you. So be on the lookout this afternoon for that email and communication coming from Maya. She'll send it out from the comptroller's office. So if you're one of the few maybe that are new to your agency and they don't have your current contact information, if you want to send myself Maya an email so we can forward that to you to ensure you get that information, please do. We're going to ask, you make sure you follow up with your super user and get that updated. But in the interim for today's information that's going to be communicated out, if you want to make sure you're not missing that, send me an email and I'll forward Maya's email to you as soon as I receive it. All right.
So one more thing hold on, one more thing. If for those of you who are new, the 4 handouts that are listed need to be included in your event file for audit purposes. All of those 4 documents should be in your file.
Right. That's why we've included those for you. So you'll want to keep those in your event and outreach file that you're keeping for this event for audit purposes. You'll also want to keep the exemption letter if you're using the CPA exemption letter and you're procuring anything outside of what we normally would do. I would keep a copy of that in my procurement file as well, because that is going to be your free pass to why you didn't go through the normal steps of procurement for office products or for office furniture if you're buying a chair or a floor mat, whatever the case may be. You're not going through the Smart Buy, you're not going through TextMass. This is kind of your pass on that. So you need to keep a copy of that letter in your procurement file as well, so you can tie that back to that purchase should you be audited. All right, and if we don't have any other questions.
No, I don't see any in the box.
Okay, thanks, Tom. We're going to thank everybody. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope this was useful for you. Again, don't forget we are out there. We are a resource to you. So feel free to contact us at any time, and we will be following up with this recording and the questions and answers to you so you can use those as a resource. And we appreciate you spending your morning with us. So y'all have a good day.
Thank you.